Viewers previously learned Lee Daniel Sutton's story on My 600lb Life. Tragically, news has come out that Sutton has recently passed away at the age of 51. Since then, family and friends have paid tribute to him on social media. Keep reading for more details on this sad death. Sutton appeared during the first episode of the 6th season of My 600lb Life. Originally from Houston, Missouri, he appeared alongside his significant other, Rena Kisser. Lee originally weighed around 714 pounds during his time on the show. Viewers saw him go through various ups and downs with Dr. Now. However, he ultimately qualified for weight loss surgery and was able to bring his weight down to around 411 pounds. An online obituary recently shared that the My 600lb Life star passed away on January 29, 2026. He was said to be around 51 at the time of his death. Reportedly, Lee passed away at Mercy Hospital in Springfield, in his home state. As previously reported, Lee told a fan that he was back at a nursing home in December 2024. It was noted that he was preceded in death by his parents and grandparents, as well as his stepmother, Evelyn, and 3 uncles. Lee was noted to have been survived by his wife, Theresa Warneld, whom he married on October 7, 2024, in Salem. He was survived by other relatives, including his stepmother, Tammy, and 10 siblings, amid other friends and family. On social media, Lee's sister, Jennifer Warner, took to Facebook to share a tribute to both her brother and father. She wrote, "Lee passed away this morning. Please pray for our family. I love you both and I hope you are both dancing with Jesus, R.I.P. Big Brother." In a tribute, the obit read, "Lee had a heart as big as he was and never met a stranger. He enjoyed spending time with family, singing karaoke, doing arts and crafts, and doing small engine work." The post continued, "He enjoyed cooking, playing poker and being outdoors. He enjoyed spending time with his wife and making plans for the future." The obit also shared resources to help people send flowers to the family or plant a tree in Lee's honor. Many of those who knew Lee also shared their condolences at the end of the obit. Some comments included, "Prayers for the family. He was a good friend. I'm sorry to hear this. Lee was my student at Plato in 5th grade. So sorry for your family's loss. So sorry. Sending prayers for your family. My 600lb Life. Star Lee Daniel Sutton dead at 51, a life beyond the scale." On January 29, 2026, Lee Daniel Sutton, once a household name to millions of viewers of My 600lb Life, was pronounced dead at the age of 51. His passing marks one more chapter in a story that was as messy and complicated as the human condition itself, a narrative of struggle, hope, conflict, and consequence that millions watched unfold over years. To some, Lee was an inspiration, a man battling extraordinary odds. To others, he embodied the darker possibilities of untreated trauma and unchecked anger. But in his passing, we are reminded that behind every reality television episode is a real person, a life shaped by history, heartbreak, triumphs, setbacks, and relationships both loving and troubled. This article traces Lee's life, his journey on My 600lb Life, the relationships that defined him, the controversies that followed, and the legacy he leaves behind. Beginning weight, a life at 714 pounds. Lee Daniel Sutton first appeared on TLC's My 600lb Life in Season 6, Episode 1, airing in early 2018, as part of a narrative arc that paired him with his then-partner, Rena Kisser. At the time, Lee weighed an astonishing 714 pounds, a weight so extreme that it affected every facet of his existence. Simple bodily functions became feats of endurance. Breathing, mobility, even sitting upright were exhausting battles. But unlike many others on the show whose weight gains stemmed from deep grief, childhood trauma, or crippling depression, Lee's story was complicated by volatile relationships and expressions of anger that often overshadowed his physical journey. The premise of My 600lb Life is simple in theory but brutal in practice. Participants enter the care of Dr. Yunan Nausaradan, Drive. Now, are placed on a strict diet, and must lose enough weight to qualify for bariatric surgery, a potential lifeline toward a healthier future. The camera captures not just pounds lost, but emotions, hope and despair, pride and shame, triumph and defeat. For Lee, The journey was a roller coaster with no clear upward trend. Meeting Rena, a symbiotic struggle. Lee and Rena met before the show at a weight loss clinic where both were patients. At the time, the clinic's policy prohibited romantic relationships between patients, so Lee and Rena made the fateful decision to leave the facility together to be with each other. When viewed in hindsight, that decision encapsulates the paradox of their bond, two people who struggled mightily with food, with self-destruction, and with dependency, choosing one another as both anchor and enabler. Rena entered the show weighing 549 pounds, not far behind Lee's 714. Together, the couple's combined weight represented not just a physical enormity but a psychological one, habits, traumas, and emotional dependencies that were woven into the fabric of their every interaction. On camera, Lee and Rena's dynamic quickly became one of the most controversial of that season. Rena showed moments of grit, striving for change and demonstrating clear progress in her weight loss. Lee, on the other hand, often resisted structure and struggled with adhering to Dr. Now's guidance. Their interactions oscillated between tenderness and turbulence, the physical toll, weight loss, plateaus, and emotional stress. Over 12 months, Lee managed to reduce his weight, dropping from 714 to around 411 pounds, losing roughly 303 pounds. This is a remarkable achievement on paper. 300 pounds lost is proof of strenuous effort, discipline, at least at times, and the human body's capacity to change. Yet numbers only tell part of the story. The emotional landscape beneath that transformation was fractured. Lee struggled with portion control, griped publicly about the dietary restrictions, and at times expressed frustration that fermented into anger. But even amidst the weight reduction, Lee's health challenges did not disappear. Weight loss at such extremes is both a physiological accomplishment and a psychological marathon. The body adapts, but the mind, shaped by years, even decades, of habits and coping mechanisms, does not easily reset. To Dr. Now's credit, he repeatedly attempted to help Lee confront not just food, but emotional roots, self-anger, and behaviors that were harming relationships in his world, especially with Rena. A relationship marked by love and conflict. The arc of Lee and Rena's relationship was at times heartwarming, at times heartbreaking. Viewers saw budding affection between two people who, in some ways, were each other's lifeline. But at other moments, the relationship veered into extremes of hostility. In public discussions after the episode aired, many fans of the show were vocal about the unhealthy patterns they perceived in Lee, criticizing instances where he lashed out, resisted therapeutic suggestions, or treated Rena with a lack of compassion. Social media communities dissected every interaction, some condemning Lee's behavior in strong terms. The visceral responses reflected not only outrage at perceived mistreatment but deep empathy for Rena, whose struggle for health seemed at times overshadowed by caring for Lee's fragile emotional state. Reality television is not therapy, and the presence of cameras may accentuate conflict, but many viewers felt that Lee's outbursts were sincere, not staged drama. In years following their time on the show, Rena and Lee's romantic relationship reportedly ended, and Lee later married another woman in 2024, a fact that some fans of the series noted when discussions of his obituary circulated online. Beyond the show, media portrayal and online judgment. Lee's life after his original My 600 Pound Life appearance is harder to trace in detail. Because reality television captures a specific period, what happens after cameras stop rolling often remains opaque unless participants choose to keep public profiles. In online forums and Reddit threads, many fan commentators expressed relief at Rena's separation from Lee, criticized his temperament, and judged his behavior harshly. Some posts referred to episodes of anger, resistance to dietary change, and even physical confrontations, though these accounts are best understood as fan discourse rather than verified news. For every person who offered harsh judgment, others pleaded for empathy, reminding commentators that emotional struggles are deeply complex and that human behavior cannot be summed up with a single narrative. This tension reflects a broader truth in our culture. Reality television turns vulnerability into spectacle, inviting both compassion and condemnation from audiences worldwide. A life cut short, his death at age 51. On January 29, 2026, Lee Daniel Sutton died at 51 years old. Details surrounding the cause of death have not been comprehensively reported in mainstream outlets. Public information currently labels the cause as undisclosed, leaving room for speculation or private family matters that have not been shared publicly. What is indisputable is that Lee's weight struggles, and the emotional and physiological costs associated with prolonged extreme obesity, were embedded deeply in his lifelong health narrative. Once someone's body reaches and sustains morbid obesity, it predisposes that person to a spectrum of chronic conditions, cardiovascular strain, respiratory problems, immune suppression, diabetes, joint deterioration, and more. Over years and decades, these stresses exact a toll that can quietly undermine health even when weight is reduced. His passing adds Lee's name to the list of My 600-Pound Life alumni who have died, including others such as Pauline Potter and others from various seasons. Reflection: the weight of public scrutiny. The death of a reality TV participant often triggers a cascade of reactions: sadness, indifference, critique, commentary. But at the nucleus of every public figure is a private human being. Lee was someone's son, someone's husband, and someone's friend. He existed in the realities of medical challenge and emotional complexity, not merely in edited television segments. Reality television can illuminate struggles that are hard to watch, but it cannot fully encapsulate the intricacies of a life lived outside the confines of a narrative arc. Some fans will remember Lee for his stubbornness. Others will remember his struggle with anger. Still others will recall his moments of vulnerability and humanity. All of these perceptions are part of the kaleidoscope of public memory. What cannot be denied is that Lee's story, like many others from My 600-Pound Life, is not simply a cautionary tale or a sensational headline. It is a human life marked by pain and effort, connection and conflict, aspiration and limitation, legacy and lessons. Lee's experience, both on the show and off, speaks to broader themes that resonate beyond the world of reality television. 1. Obesity is more than physical. Weight is never just about food or discipline. It is linked with psychology, identity, trauma, cultural conditioning, and coping mechanisms. Lee's turbulent journey illustrates how emotional and behavioral patterns are deeply woven into the fabric of physical health. 2. Change is multifaceted. Sustainable transformation requires more than diet plans or surgery. It requires emotional healing, community support, accountability, and often professional long-term mental health care, elements that reality series are rarely designed to provide comprehensively. 3. Relationships shape health. Lee and Rena's intertwined journeys show how relationships can either fortify positive change or entangle struggle even more tightly. In some ways, each depended on the other, and in other ways, they enabled patterns that hindered individual growth. 4. Public figures are human. Reality TV exposure invites judgment, speculation, and commentary, but it also demands empathy. Viewers must remember that the behaviors they witnessed were edited moments, not the full breadth of a human life. 5. Mortality is universal. No matter how dramatic a life on screen may seem, death is a reminder of our shared fragility. Final thoughts. Lee Daniel Sutton's life was a narrative of extremes: extreme weight, extreme struggle, extreme emotions, and, ultimately, extreme public visibility. His journey touched thousands of viewers, sparking conversations about health, relationships, compassion, and judgment. As the world remembers him at 51, there is a dual legacy: the person captured on television, and the fuller human life that unfolded beyond it. May his memory, and the stories of others from My 600-Pound Life, prompt deeper understanding of what it truly means to live, strive, struggle, and be human. And may it encourage others to seek the help and healing that every person deserves, no matter the scale they carry.